Hello, my name is Nathaniel Mackay and I manage a property portfolio in Emerald, Queensland. In this video, I'm going to show you how you can stop spending so much money on maintenance each year at each of your investment properties. I'm going to explain the three categories of maintenance that we use in our property portfolio, the benefits of actioning preventative maintenance items, and when a necessary maintenance item does come up, such as replacing the hot water system or fixing taps, I'm going to show you how you can mitigate your costs when that happens. And at the end of the video, I'm going to provide recommendations that you can implement at your property tomorrow to start saving money. Now, why should you listen to me? Myself and the team manage at least $90 million in property assets every single day. I went from sitting behind a reception desk to managing that property portfolio in just a few years. And look, let's be honest, that does not happen by chance. I have been to court representing our clients and won. I have conducted at least 1,000 inspections. I have leased hundreds of properties, and we have dealt with thousands of jobs. I'm not an ex-property manager or an ex-property investor. I live and breathe this stuff every single day. I'm in amongst the properties, dealing with all the issues every single day, so I can show you exactly what you can do to save money on maintenance and what we recommend to our clients to save money. On my screen here, I have a few steps we're going to walk through in this video to stop spending so much money on maintenance. First, I'm going to discuss the three categories all maintenance falls under, and there's only three. There's not 5, 6, 7, 8 categories. It's only three we need to worry about. The second step is I'm going to show you how to mitigate costs for necessary maintenance. Then I'm going to show you strategies you can implement tomorrow that we recommend to our clients on a regular basis. And at the end, hopefully you will save some money by watching this video. Right, let's look at step one, the maintenance trinity. There are three categories of maintenance: preventative, which is also can be known as routine maintenance. There's necessary maintenance, and there's unnecessary maintenance. Preventative maintenance is not necessary right now. However, it is something that if you leave that issue unattended, it will cause issues down the track. Say for example, your aircon needs a service. There's lots of mold build-up, the drains haven't been cleaned for a while. It's not an issue right now, but in 12 months' time, you may have to replace that aircon because the damage is too far gone. The second category is necessary maintenance. This is maintenance that needs to be completed to keep the property habitable and comply with the minimum housing standards, such as replacing the hot water system. If you don't have hot water working at your property, then you can't have a tenant. If there aren't blinds or window coverings on the windows, especially in the bedrooms, you can't have a tenant. If there's not a working cooktop, you can't have a tenant. These things need to be actioned extremely quickly, otherwise you are in breach of the legislation, and that is not a good place to be. The third one is unnecessary maintenance. This is if the request for this job is left unattended, it will not cause any future damage or affect the livability of the property. For example, we had a tenant request for the fan to be moved 3 meters in the living room for better airflow. That is not necessary at all, considering there was already an aircon at the property in the lounge room. And we get these things that come through, and the majority of the time, if it's an unreasonable request, we will simply reject it and not even bother the investor because it's not worth their time. And that's it. There's three categories, and every single maintenance issue falls under one of these three categories. The next step is how to mitigate costs for necessary maintenance. This type of maintenance, as I said previously, is extremely urgent and needs to be fixed as soon as possible. When the taps are leaking, or when the aircon is not working and it's the middle of summer, sourcing multiple quotes is majority of the time pointless. Most plumbers are going to charge a similar amount to replace a few taps at that property. Let's look at an example. Investor 1 requests quotes from a plumber to repair the taps. The plumber then has to go to the property, inspect the taps, spend around an hour total quoting this job, including the travel time, and with the fuel prices, they're going to charge additional amounts just because of they have to travel to the property. And because the plumber still spent time at that job, they will charge you for an hour of that time, which will come around, including GST, to around $120. From there, we're not done. The plumber needs to send the quote, the property manager needs to send the quote to Investor One, Investor One needs to approve the quote, the property manager needs to advise the plumber that the quote has been approved, and the plumber needs to book the job in. Now, the tenant has seen the plumber attend, it's still not completed, probably at least a week and a half later, and the plumber still hasn't attended. So when they eventually attend, they charge $140 for the total works, which is reasonable. The total cost for the job ends up being $260, and the total time to complete the job is 14 days. That means a tenant has had to wait 14 days for a few taps to be replaced. Can you imagine how the tenant would feel? They would feel pretty frustrated and pretty annoyed that these small issues are taking this long to get resolved. Now let's look at Investor 2. Investor 2 approves a plumber to attend and resolve the issue. And even better, the property manager knows that Investor 2 just wants these things sorted and goes ahead and organizes the plumber and lets Investor 2 know. That means Investor 2 doesn't even have to make a decision, but they're still kept in the loop. Then the plumber books the job in and the taps are fixed. The total cost of the job is still $140, and the total time to complete the job is 4 days. Most of the time, tradespeople will prioritize jobs that do not have to be quoted, because there is a high chance, especially with real estates, that if they're quoting a job, they're going against at least a few other tradespeople. But if they send a work order without having to quote anything, they're going to attend to that job a lot sooner. Essentially, if it needs to be fixed to comply with legislation, just prove it. Don't bother getting quotes and comparing quotes. And even let your property manager know that if it needs to be done, and it's not an extreme amount, for example, replacing a hot water system, you probably want to have the final say on that. But if it's a smaller job that still needs to be completed, just let the property manager know. If that happens at any of your investment properties, go ahead and organize somebody. That will save you a lot of decisions, especially if you have at least like 5 properties. Trying to constantly juggle every single property and all these people asking you, can you approve this? It's a lot easier to just get an email saying, hey, the taps are leaking, we've assigned a plumber, we'll let you know once it's been completed. Now, the important thing here is that we have reliable tradespeople that conduct quality work at reasonable prices, which enables us to confidently do this every day. Because we see so many jobs and because we only use a select amount of contractors, it means we know a rough amount that the job will cost. We don't use the cheapest contractors in town because we're going to have issues 6 months later. But we do know the plumbers who prefer the larger jobs and will charge more for the smaller jobs. And we know the plumbers that are happy to do the smaller jobs and charge a reasonable price. So that is a key to note, that you want to make sure you have the right tradespeople in your back pocket. Otherwise, you will be overcharged for the job. Now, the next part I'm going to walk through is preventive maintenance items that you can action and implement at any of your investment properties tomorrow. I'm assuming at least one of your rooms in any of your investment properties has aircon. This is what an aircon looks like when it hasn't been cleaned. So there's mold all in the back of it, and there's mold build up throughout. The drains probably are also quite dirty. This is also another issue because the tenant is breathing in mold. What it needs is an annual service and deep clean of an aircon. This is applicable to split systems. The estimated cost to service and deep clean an aircon is around $140. I understand in the cities everything is a lot cheaper, but in Emerald, Queensland, tradespeople do charge more compared to the cities. The second one is the annual cleaning of gutters. You probably have seen this at one of your investment properties or at even your own property with the gutters overflowing. What that will lead to is roof leaks to the interior. If you leave the gutters clogged and you have these roof leaks, first please clean the gutters. Don't patch the interior to try and fix the problem, because it'll come back in 6 months or even sooner when it rains again. The total cost for cleaning gutters is around $300 per year. That's just $300 once per year for a contractor to attend, hire a cherry picker if need be, and clean all the gutters. The next one is something that most people actually miss and don't even know about. This is the replacement of an anode rod. This is only applicable to electric hot water systems. Gas hot water systems, this doesn't matter, but I can imagine at least one of your investment properties may have an electric hot water system. This is essentially a sacrificial rod that extends the life of the water heater. It essentially attracts all of the bad things out of the water that is being held in the hot water system, and once it is used up, it does not attract all the bad things in that water. So you need to replace it every few years. Otherwise, the hard water and all the bad things in the hard water will damage the hot water system and contribute to a leaking hot water system, which then means your hot water system needs to be replaced. The good thing is you only need to replace this every 3 years. If you have softer water, maybe every 5 years. For Emerald Region, we do have relatively hard water. In Capella and Tieri, the water is significantly harder than Emerald as well, so you may need to look at replacing it every 2 to 3 years at the latest. The cost for this is $120. That is simply to purchase an anode rod and get a plumber to go out and replace it. Super small job. Let's look at the total costs per year. For a property with 5 aircons, we're going to say that it costs around $700 per annum to service and deep clean the aircons once per year. For the gutter cleaning, we're going to say it costs $300 per year, and for the anode rod, it costs around $40 per year if we split the cost of $120 over 3 years. That means the total cost for all the preventative maintenance items at this property is $1,040 per annum. That's it. And I can guarantee you, well, almost guarantee you, these things will save you money in the long run. You won't have to replace the aircon every 3 to 4 years because you're going to be looking after them. They're going to be serviced, and any issues that could arise are being picked up early. There's going to be no roof leaks. Forget about patching the roof leaks because it also will affect your property come time to sell if the building inspection picks up that there has been roof leaks in the past. Then the anode rod will extend the life of your hot water system, putting a $2,500 bill that you would have had to pay this year and putting that off to 3 to 5 years later. These things are something that many investors overlook, but we recommend it to investors every single year to do, and the investors that do listen to our advice, we tend to not have many maintenance issues in the next coming year, which also works well for us because it's not as many jobs we have to deal with. So if you could at least implement one of these preventative maintenance items to all of your investment properties, I hope that it will save you money in the long run. Now, one thing before you go, which you can do right now to save you time, hassle, and stress, is to email the property manager for each of your investment properties and let them know that if the maintenance item is necessary to comply with minimum housing standards, I want you to go ahead and arrange it to be fixed, but just let me know that you are arranging a contractor to attend. If you do that, it will save you money and time throughout managing your investment properties, thus saving you money.